What it do, YouTube? It's your boy Eli the Rebel. This is Postcom Eli to be exact. I did record some audio for this, but I feel like it's a pressing matter that I need to address and things like that. I took a week in between, I took a week off from episode 23 to 24, and that was just because I had to deal with something came up, because as you guys probably know, I play Draft League on the side now and I don't upload that stuff. So some Draft League stuff came up, and there will be a video to fully explain all of that. But again, I needed the week off to address that issue, get that sorted out, and then when I come back from my trip, I will fully explain that when the time is right. But today, let's not worry about that. Today, as I promised in the last episode, which I'm gonna put up in the iCard right now as I go into my recruiting tab here. We have players ready to visit Rutgers. As you can see here, our first player that we're going to highlight is Terrence Alexander. This is a 5-star outside linebacker from Downey, California. We have a player promise for him, though, and he wants to wear number 58. Now, fortunately for us, we don't have anyone currently wearing this number, so this works out for us. And on top of that, he has you on the list of coaches he wants to play for, so he really likes our coaching prestige, which is super huge right now, because it wasn't too long ago in this dynasty, just only one season ago, people did not want to commit to USF because of our coaching prestige. Yet here we are now in season number 4, the 2014 season, man. We've come a long way and built this program to the up and up. Now, Sean Doyle somehow, hasn't narrowed down to 3 yet. Still has LSU and Texas holding on. But we are in the top 3 along with 2 Oklahoma schools. So, you're going to see, when I cut out from this screen, that we gave the most points to Sean Doyle. Sean Doyle is only one of 2 wide receivers that we're going to be targeting, as the second one is Jason Jenkins from Oakwood, Ohio. 6'4", 195. It's really good size. Not as great size as Sean Doyle, but still a pretty tall wide receiver that we need in the wide receiver room. He likes our program prestige a lot, so it's obviously a really good sign as well. So he's going to be visiting Rutgers as well. No player promise for him, but we have player promises for the last 2 players. So Steve Bates from Newcastle, Pennsylvania, a 6'6", 292-pound offensive tackle, wants to be a starter. I don't mind this. I mean, we have Chris Watson and Kevin Johnson coming back next season. So, the only reason why I don't mind giving Steve Bates the starter role is because I don't really like Kevin Johnson like that. I don't think he's going to, I don't think he's that guy per se, unfortunately. He's as an upperclassman at 80 overall, that's not too healthy, in my opinion. That's not too healthy. But we're gonna try to get him today, along with our 4th and final prospect. Our 4th and final prospect visiting for the home affair versus Rutgers is Quentin Salas from Warrington, Florida. This is probably the most important position of need, as we do not have a single free safety to be exact. We don't have a single free safety coming back for next season. So I would love to get at least one free safety. Quentin has followed our program for quite some time, so that means that he likes our program prestige, much like Jason Jenkins, the wide receiver we mentioned earlier. So that's really good news to hear. Our fifth, and we don't have a fifth, but I would like to mention that Michael Levine, for some reason, another offensive lineman from Pennsylvania, for some reason, I don't know what it is, but we see West Virginia has scheduled a visit, but not Navy. So I had Michael Levine like scheduled for like Syracuse, but with only West Virginia visiting, I just put him to visit when we play UConn in Tampa instead. So keep an eye on that later on in the episode today. And lastly, I'm gonna go over the that we unfortunately for this game against Rutgers, we did have a couple of injuries when we played Utah. Cornelius Parks, our starting left guard, is out for 5 weeks. He's not going to be able to play at all during any of this episode. But Chris Watson is only out for 2 weeks, so he's out for this game against Rutgers and the game against Syracuse. But he will be back for the road game when we travel to Cincinnati and play the Bearcats. And then last but certainly not least, we have 2 players that we need to address. So Joe Wynn has well-documented academic dishonesty, but he's also our starting center. Didn't suspend him. Tom Moan has a penchant for plagiarism, but he's not only our starting corner, he's also the tallest corner at 6'4". We need him on the field as well. I can't take any chances of benching these guys for this game or any other games when recruits are coming in. Yes, the NCAA interest bar goes up a crap ton by doing this, but I don't plan on coming back anyway. So if they penalize me this season, they penalize me this season. It is what it is. So we won our home stint versus Rutgers University 49-28, which moves our record to 6-3 as Rutgers becomes 1-6 after that game. Big yikes right there for sure. But this is the moment of truth. We're gonna see how many recruits did we get after this home game, which is the day before Halloween. So we might get some commitments right here, right now. And the 4 guys that came to visit against Rutgers, all 4 of them committed. With almost all of them, we had 3 player promises, with the exception of Jason Jenkins. He's glad that we played the prestige card. It made a difference. But all the other 3 players that you're seeing on the screen right now, we promised what they wanted, which was enough for them to commit. So this has already been a much more successful in-season recruiting episode than the last one that I did last season, where I only ended up getting Larry Chavez, a backup fullback. Tyson Edwards, for some reason. So I thought that Michigan would commit right away. I thought Tyson Edwards would commit to Michigan right away after visiting Ann Arbor that week we played Rutgers, but he's still going to take a visit to Tampa now that we're playing Syracuse now. Sean Doyle is still not ready to take visits for some reason, so he's probably going to be visiting UConn, just like Michael Levine. In the injury report, as I accidentally freaking scroll over, I do see Tom Moan, needing to be suspended because he's cheating on school grounds now. But Ryan Bridges didn't make a mandatory workout, and the fact that he's a he's like a third string center too. So we're gonna suspend Ryan Bridges for the season, so that way the interest bar isn't so high. As we actually now go to the injury report, Taylor Brown is out for 2 weeks with a bruised shoulder, so he'll be able to play the bowl game. Hopefully, we'll see about that. And after beating Syracuse, we found out that Tyson Edwards did commit to Michigan right after. Tyson wanted to play for us, but decided to go elsewhere. Which, it is what it is. Like, we didn't get a positive pitch from Tyson Edwards anyway. So what I'm now going to do is put a 60-40 split between Sean Doyle and Michael Levine. They're going to be visiting when UConn comes into Tampa, but we first have to beat Cincinnati on the road. I checked my injury report. Nothing new really happened. Program standards, nothing new really happened, thank goodness. So we beat Cincinnati 36-14, which is really good for us. It's giving us good momentum going into the UConn game. I go ahead and check the bowl projections really early, just to make sure that we don't go to the GMAC Bowl again. And I scrolled a little too fast. All the way down to the GMAC Bowl, we see Bowling Green and Notre Dame, which is nice to see. So I had to scroll back up a little bit to find the USF Bulls. It looks like they have us in the Armed Forces Bowl versus Memphis. I am totally down for that. Literally anything but the GMAC Bowl, I will play it in it, and I'll be, it will be a nice trophy case. It's nice to have different trophies in the trophy case, you know what I mean? Sean Doyle, in our visit, he was the one player that prioritized school academics for some reason. So obviously, the pitch was that I put one pitch for location simply because we have players from Texas on the team, such as Marcus McCall, for example. And then the last two, I debated this pretty hard. I thought about it long, but I just went with coaching prestige because that's what every body has been, requesting and things like that. And Michael Levine says he wants to play left guard, and of course we're gonna agree it. Again, it's fine, and not only that, he loves the USF program prestige, so we're not only gonna give him the left guard position. We're also gonna, pitch program prestige to this guard from Clairtown, PA. Again, this is very different from starter. I'd much rather have them play whatever position they request rather than be a starter, because starter spots are somewhat hard to fill. They're more limited than actual roster spots. So. And after defeating UConn, we only got Michael Levine to commit. You're going to see the reason why he committed was, again, he had a player promise. We honored it, and it was enough for him to commit to the team. You're going to see that Sean Doyle ended up committing to one of the Oklahoma schools. I believe it was Oklahoma. Like the Sooners, Oklahoma? No, I was wrong. There's a soft verbal. But again, the following week on a bye week, we end up not getting him. So our in-season recruiting class has 5 players in it. 2 of them being 5 stars, the other 3 being 4 stars. That is a very successful in-season recruiting class, in my opinion. Way more successful than whatever I did the season prior, because the season prior was just abysmal. And this is the part of the dynasty where I got so frustrated, because right after we send the conference games, the Big East doesn't have a conference game. We win because we basically beat West Virginia. We go to the GMAC Bowl again and play Bowling Green. It's nice to see Greg Brooks win the Heisman. We've played him before. He's a very good quarterback, I must say. Didn't get the win against us, but it's nice to see that he won a Heisman. I think he deserves it. However, playing the GMAC Bowl again just wouldn't be that fun, honestly. I just played in that same stadium in Mobile, Alabama. So I went ahead and simmed it, along with all the other bowls. And I'll just skip to the part where we actually got some very good job offers, but I declined all of them because, again, I want to play in a different bowl game before I leave. So we accept the GMAC Bowl once again, and the 3 schools that are offering positions to us are Arkansas, which Marcus Coker actually transferred out of, which is interesting. Michigan is also offering us a head coaching job, and then LSU. So it seems they just let the leash go on Les Miles over there. As Cal, has a quarterback that breaks, an NCAA record. Albert Peterson breaking school records for us, throwing for 4,000 yards in a season, 9,293 yards in a career, along with 42 touchdown passes in a season. Lionel Boyd with 80 catches in a season. Matt Willis had 74 prior. Lionel Boyd also breaking the receiving stats in a season, a record previously held by Richard Lewis. And with that, I just hopped into off-season schedule, to be honest with you. After I saved, this dynasty, I've decided that, we're just going to run through the off season. The one thing I will mention, and you guys are going to see it during position changes, it gives me the option to move Al Wilson over to corner at least, because I can't have 65 tackling just sitting there to rot in the wide receiver room, because the wide receiver room is actually very, very good now. And it's going to get better in the off-season recruiting part of this episode as well. And I apologize if we get to the, if we get to, the graduation ceremony for the seniors, but for some reason they didn't show the 2010-2011 season stats, so you're not getting a full career recap in that screen anyway. But I'll still show you guys anyway. As you can see here, recording me was showing off how Al Wilson has 62 tackling, and I needed to move that to corner immediately. So that's a priority that needed to be addressed going into this offseason for sure. So I kept the recruiting, training, and discipline budgets the same going into the graduation ceremony, as Eric Petway wanted to declare for the pro draft, and I used the max hours on every single time I tried to convince him. So give him until the end of the week to see if he's staying. The bar increased when I put the 75. Then it increased again. And then on the third time, he says he's done all he could here and that he's ready to take on a new challenge. So Eric Petway, we're going to need to recruit another strong safety, unfortunately. They didn't show his 2012 stats, which is when he was starting. He was starting as a freshman. Then Brandon Joseph was starting his sophomore season. Then he started again, wearing Brandon Joseph's number, which was totally bro spec moment right there for sure. But I feel like he did his best, as a starter. He might have had more interceptions, but again, it doesn't show the freshman year stats. So I will never know whether he had a better freshman season or a better junior season. Kevin Medlock, he's a 4-year senior, but only showing his sophomore, junior, and senior year stats. You hate to see it, but he grew into a 96 overall defensive tackle. This was a 2-star from Homestead, Florida, for goodness sakes. Jamie Whitlock, redshirted when we first took the job. He's gone. I'm going to miss that guy like crazy. Again, this is why I move Al Wilson to corner, because we're losing a superstar corner in Jamie Whitlock. Marcus Watson is, no longer a part of the program. He's bailed out Albert Peterson so many times. So Albert Peterson has to be a big dog going into his senior season. And then everybody else was just, a role player of some sort, Again, Ryan Bridges was a third string center. Garrett Knackford did pretty good at free safety. But, everybody below that was just a backup, to be honest. We do have 3 more transfers coming in, as if the 3 transfers from last season, weren't enough. Again, Marcus Coker is one of them. Curtis Coley is the second one. And then we have a kicker that's going to be playing this season from the University of Florida, actually. But we ended up getting another one of those. But first, I like to highlight Michael White. This is a middle linebacker, a sophomore, Jasper, Alabama. He's going to be, after he redshirts this season, you're going to see him at middle linebacker for 3 more years. Jordan Moore is an outside linebacker from Bellevue, New Jersey. So we might move him to the left side or the right side, but again, I like the fact that the two main I can't speak today. Those first 2 transfers were defensive oriented. I feel like the offense is super stacked as it is, as the third and final transfer is Caleb Beck from Kendall Lakes, Florida. Looks like a duplicate of the Florida kicker that's about to play for us this season. Except that one is from Canada. But I accepted all 3 simply because it's very hard to recruit kickers and punters in this game. So worst case scenario, if we don't get a kicker or a punter, we can always just move one of the kickers over to said punter and redshirt that guy. Reggie Harris from Niagara, Canada. He came from the Gators, and now they literally have the same stats, which is honestly hilarious. In week 1, we only got 1 recruit to commit, and that is James Thomas from Homestead, Florida. It's nice to have a Kevin Medlock replacement to start off rip. I like the A- field awareness. I like the 430 bench. I like the 570 squat. That's usable, but average potential, poor discipline. Hopefully he'll grow just like Kevin Medlock. We'll see. No prospects committed to USF in week 2, but I wanted to show you guys someone that we low-locked. Yes, Mike Harrell, an Elite 11 quarterback, number 6 of 11. He is listed as a pocket passer, but having a 5-star quarterback redshirt him as Albert Peterson graduates is going to be really, really cool, because I would play against USF once I leave the first season, so it would be cool to play against Mike Harrell if we do land him. And legit, we land him along with 2 other players for week 3. So Joe Anderson from Easley, South Carolina, runs a 4.34, A+ field awareness, 40.4 inch vert, A+ hands, 285 bench, 415 squat, good potential, excellent discipline. This is a 5-star receiver, 6'4", 199. This is why that's why we didn't get Sean Doyle, because who knows, maybe this guy's better. We'll see once the dust settles. I really don't know. That's the beauty of recruiting. They tell you everything except overall in this game. Unlike the newer NCAAs where they just give you the overall already. Now we get to looking at Mike Harrell. So he ended up running a 4.9, A+ field awareness, A+ arm strength, A- pass accuracy, 265 bench, 315 squat, poor potential, but good discipline. But he's an Elite 11 quarterback, so I feel like with the Elite 11, your quarterbacks, they're like a little bit higher overall to start than blue chips anyway. And of course, we can't forget about the strong safety to replace Eric Petway is Cedric Johnson from Frostproof, Florida. Runs a 4.55, A+ field awareness, 39 8-inch vert, C+ hands, 340 on the bench, 520 on the squat. Average potential, but excellent discipline. So we're filling all our holes slowly but surely going into week 4. In week 4, we got another 5-star quarterback, not an elite 11 QB, but he's still a blue chip regardless. This is Joe Childress from Mount Vernon, Virginia. Runs a 4.84, A- field awareness, A arm strength, B accuracy, 285 bench, 315 squat. Average potential, good discipline. More quarterbacks the merrier, I guess. And then the second player that we got from week 4 was Don Morse from Key Largo, Florida. A field awareness, 430 bench, 605 squat. Average potential, excellent discipline. So it's nice to have backups for Joe Wynn in case he, is still plagiarizing his tests and whatnot. In the final week of commitments, we got pretty much nothing but 3 and 2 stars across the board. We got a lot of 5 stars early on, so we just needed to round out the roster with, more with 3s and 2s to fill in positions of need. We always get an athlete. This is Kevin Davis from Holiday, Florida. Runs a 4.55, B field awareness, 38 6-inch vert, C+ hands, 285 bench, 385 squat. 6'3", 195 from Holiday, Florida, if I didn't say that already. His season stats look like another wide receiver. We'll see. We got Donnie Harper, a punter from Peach City Tree, Georgia. B, I like the B kick power. The D accuracy is whatever, because again, he's a punter. He doesn't need to be accurate. Billy White, Venice, Florida, is a 3-star offensive tackle, 6'5", 289. A+ field awareness, 460 bench, 570 squat. Darren Campbell is a 2-star offensive tackle, 6'3", 325 from Red Hill, South Carolina. A+ field awareness, 395 bench, 620 squat. Finally, I can say good potential and poor discipline. Okay, cool. Joey Davis, Frostproof, Florida, free safety, JUCO junior. Runs a 4.55, A- field awareness, 39 2-inch vert, C hands, 265 bench, 415 squat. Average potential, excellent discipline. Jason Moore from Naples, Florida, 6'2", 204. Runs a 4.51, A field awareness, 38 6-inch vert, C hands, 305 bench, 445 squat. Average potential, excellent discipline. Eric Seymour, a tight end from Lakeside, Florida, 6'3", 226. Runs a 4.47, A+ field awareness, 38 1-inch vert, A+ hands, 370 bench, 415 squat. Average potential, excellent discipline. Tight end is a low-key hard position to recruit. So with all that being said, we actually finished number 6 in the nation for a recruiting class. The 5 stars helped, 2 of them being from in-season recruiting. We also got 4 4-stars, 3 3-stars, and 7 2-stars for a grand total of 19 commitments. So we go to the spring game, and as always, I sim the spring game. Nobody really wants to play the spring game like that. It's a cool mini game that you do when you do Road to Glories and stuff like that, because you can't skip the spring game for Road to Glory. So it's pretty cool for the most part. It plays just like a normal game, except the 1s play the 2s in different colors. Whether it be green versus white or blue versus white, whatever your school colors are, things of that nature. We're training up the guys. We put 34% in training, just like 34% in recruiting. And look at this. Al Wilson becomes a 72 overall corner when we moved him over from wide receiver. And we also have a bunch of breakthrough players on top of that, such as Cornelius Parks. I don't know if that's Gary White. I'm not sure. But Cody Williams, also a +6 as well. I checked here very quickly to see if Brett Reynolds changed, overall. Not really, but he had a +1 to weight. That was probably the other major position change, honestly. I moved Elgin Watkins back to wide receiver because he was pretty thin. 6'3", 187. I like my I like my tight ends to be 200 plus something pounds. Weight actually affects blocking in this game. a little bit. Like, every little bit matters. So it's better to have Brent Reynolds be a receiving tight end. And again, like, the wide receiver room is crowded. So it's whatever. Again, Mike Williams, Mike Adriano, Justin Jenkins, Larry Chavez, John Upshaw, Josh Bailey, Clayton Granello. Like, all those guys were breakthrough players. But unfortunately, some of them are going to get cut. We exceeded we needed like 70 total roster spots. We recruited a total of 79 players. So 9 players had to be cut before I moved on to the depth chart. So here's the depth chart for the USF Bulls after all the cutting of players. Albert Peterson, this is his last season. So once he graduates, Mike Harrell's most likely going to be the starter, which we're going to redshirt for sure, along with the other quarterbacks that we recruited in this class. The one position I am concerned about before I leave this job for real is in the halfback room. Again, Marcus McCall has been great, but I don't trust Ben Stewart being a starter. He's been fumbling. He's fumbled when the lights are bright. Not a fan of that. That Josh Anderson guy is a 90 overall as a freshman. He automatically becomes wide receiver 4. So what I ended up doing was, on top of Marcus Coker being on the outside, because I still like Joe Beard in the slot. Joe Beard in the slot is just so good. He gets lost in that post pattern for sure. But wide receiver 5 is actually going to be John Woods, a redshirt freshman. He's going to be catching bubble screens instead of Tommy Levine. And then we put Elgin Watkins as the 6th wide receiver for if one of the 5 wideouts do become injured. But tight end, we had Brent Reynolds with, Jason Schmidt and Bryce Berry are going to be, tight ends 2 and 3, which are important for when we run goal line formation, because we're going to redshirt Seymour. And then after his redshirt season, Seymour's probably going to get to, I guaranteed, like 70 overall, if not higher. Kevin Johnson, we moved Stephen Bates to the starting role. He's only like 2 overall lower, but he is a freshman, so he'll grow into an 86, 88 type thing by when it's all said and done. On the defensive side of the ball, you have Joe Evans on the left end, Ryan Cummins on the right end. You'll see the defensive tackles are still the same. Clay Daniels, middle linebacker. Curtis Coley on the right outside, Curtis Coley on the left outside linebacker with Terrence Alexander on the right outside. This is our cornerback room. Free safety, obviously Quentin Salas, who we recruited in season. And then we ended up getting 3 strong safeties. We're going to redshirt the Cedric Johnson guy for sure. And then kicker is going to be the Canadian kicker from the University of Florida, with Marvin Dickinson still being the punter of the team. Our special teams is being led out by Marcus McCall. So he's going to be the kick returner on the left with Lionel Boyd on the right. He's going to be returning punts as well. So this is a sped up montage of every single player that went to summer training. Some of them are going to be backups. Some of them are going to be starters. But at the end of the day, these were players that I felt that didn't improve that much or needed overall boost going into the actual season. There's even a couple of players, again, what I love about this feature the most is I can redshirt, these players. So for example, you're about to see Jason Jenkins very, very soon. And, getting his overall up and then redshirting him, because again, I didn't like the fact that he started out as an 80 overall. He was a 5-star prospect that we recruited in season, and his overall is only an 80. So I was glad to see, to be able to improve a little bit and then redshirt him. Hopefully he'll blossom into a wonderful wide receiver 2 or a slot receiver. I don't think he has the capacity to be a number 1, especially with Josh Anderson and Marcus Coker being the top 2 at the moment. We'll see if that changes in the sim. Most improved out of the whole summer training is actually this backup free safety, Jason Moore. So he's going to end up being a 70 overall, with Quentin Salas still starting at a 72 overall as a freshman. But very, very nice to see Jason Moore improve the most in summer training. So once summer training finished, we moved on to the redshirting screen. Starting with the quarterbacks, Mike Harrell, Trevor McCullough, and Josh Childress all get redshirted, which leaves 3 quarterbacks in rotation: Albert Peterson, Robert Young, and Eric Wagner. Hopefully I don't have to use the latter of the 2. I can just have Albert Peterson pretty much play things out unless he gets injured. The next redshirting was for Jason Jenkins to be redshirted. Tommy Levine also had a potential to be redshirted, but he was also a senior, so I just rather let him, walk that way. Eric Seymour, we're going to redshirt. Bryce Berry ended up not being a redshirt freshman. He ended up being a sophomore instead. Totally fine. Again, I like Eric Seymour because he's a receiving tight end, a natural receiving tight end to be exact, not a wide receiver turned into tight end, because whenever you turn a wide receiver into tight end, there'll always be receiving tendencies. We redshirted 2 offensive tackles. We did not redshirt Stephen Bates because he wanted to start, so he's going to be the starting right tackle, with Chris Watson as starting left tackle, 95 overall. Good Lord, Chris Watson is a freaking animal and a half. Oh man, this is a guy that we recruited like the year after Albert Peterson, and then Cornelius Parks was also in that same class, and Joe Wynn. They're high 80s, low 90s, which is very, very nice. We redshirted Don Morse. We don't need 3 centers. On the defensive side of the ball, we did not redshirt anybody, simply because for both middle linebacker and outside linebacker, we have transfers that are redshirting already. So we really only have 4 for the outside linebacker and 3 for the middle linebacker positions. In the secondary, no corners were redshirted, but we did redshirt a strong safety. This is Cedric Johnson, the Frostproof Florida kid. And then we also redshirted Dane Daniels because with the other Florida kicker, it's gonna make Caleb Beck redshirting. Reggie Harris is gonna be the starting kicker for us. When we also redshirted Donnie Harper, the Georgia punter, because Dixon is already a junior. And this is going to be the schedule. It's a little easier schedule, but I'm simming literally every game except the Oklahoma game. I think for this season, again, this is not a season I'm supposed to be at USF, but I also didn't want to play the GMAC Bowl. And at this stage of the dynasty, like at this stage of recording, I was just like, look, I'm just going to play the Oklahoma game. We travel to Norman for this one too, so it will be really, really sweet to finally, before Marcus McCall graduates, he can finally beat the Sooners and Bob Stoops. And, oh man, in Norman too would be fantastic. But we open the season with FIU. We go back to FIU. Then, Marcus Coker has the revenge game versus Arkansas, his former team. Then we play Oklahoma, then a bye week before we start conference play. The last 2 non-conference games, there's going to be a home game versus Tennessee and a home game versus UCF at the very, very end to conclude the regular season, which is very, very cool. It's a very nice change of pace of, playing your rival at the end of the season. There's just something about that just makes it more sweet. Hopefully that will be a win to get us into bowl season. And then we go into preseason recruiting, which wouldn't matter as much, but my goal going into the in-season recruiting was just literally get a halfback, because I do not trust Albert Peterson, or not Albert Peterson. I don't trust Sean Stewart starting next season. So I tried to get a halfback along with some other pieces that you're going to see momentarily. And this is the live recruiting board. We have a lot of wide receivers here. And the reason why I recruited a lot of wide receivers was I didn't feel like I needed wide receiver, but at the same time, like, these were pipeline wide receivers, so I'm just like, why not? It would be cool to have some just for the sake of it. And I ended up targeting 2 of them, or 3. Yeah, I ended up targeting 3 of them. Todd Burke is number 1 on our list from South Carolina. I would love to get a 5-star middle linebacker. Maybe have the transfer play alongside with him. Maybe the new coach will be a 3-4 kind of guy. Who knows? We have a very big bar on Eric Cooper, the right guard, a 4-star right guard. So of course we're gonna put points on him. A similar situation with Anthony Harris, not as serious, but who knows. This is really funny right here. So we have a Mike Williams on the team from Rainbow City, Alabama. This one's from East Brunswick, New Jersey. So it would be really cool to, as Mike Williams graduates, we get another Mike Williams on the offensive line, which is kind of funny. Left end has super crazy interest in us. Of course, we put 10 points on him. Same for the Canadian right end as well. But then I realized I ran out of points. I ran out of points going into the tight end, going into trying to get Jeremy Johnson, a 3-star tight end. So I was in a pickle, like, I need to take points off maybe a wide receiver and move it over to tight end. So what I did was take the 2 receivers off the board and ended up going to Robert Jones and Jeremy Johnson. And then actually I probably double checked my work here to make sure that this is what I really wanted. And I ended up taking the Robert Jones points and giving them back to Marcus Vogelfall because I saw that USF was number 2 on his list. But if anything happens and Robert Jones is still around, of course we'll put the 10 points back on him. But that's pretty much our board, man. It's a very diverse. Not as many 5-stars on this to target as opposed to last season, but I really focus it on the defensive side, and I really hope that I can get the middle linebacker, the defensive ends, and things like that. And with that, I'm pretty much gonna cut right here. So I know it's a very long episode, very tried out episode, but don't worry, we'll get to exciting stuff when we play Oklahoma next week, man. So again, it's been your boy Eli the Rebel. I catch you guys next week, man. Peace!